Hi everyone, I'm Rashmi Kaur and welcome back to my channel Kitabi Buli Ladki. I hope you all are doing fine. So today is Women's Day and I'm here to recommend you some books on women or by women on this day. But before getting into the video, let me tell you that the motto of my channel is to let you discover the underrated or the hidden treasures of the literature. So all the books that I will be recommending in this video are not that many popular titles that you may have heard of, but I can definitely assure you that you will love these books. So without any further ado, let's get started. I have divided the whole video in 4 categories, and the first category is... So the first book in this category I want to recommend you is The Last Girl by Nadia Murad. Now I have already made a very detailed and dedicated review of this book on my channel. I'll link the same in the description box. But this book, oh my god, this book gave me goosebumps and I was left shook for days. The book is the story about Nadia Murad, who was a sex slave in ISIS terrorist organization. So she won Nobel Peace Prize as a sex slave survivor in 2018, and this is her story. She belongs to a Yazidi community, a minority community in Iraq, and this talks about how the secular community was taken by this terrorist organization, and in the name of religion how they perpetuated violence and extremism, how they killed all of her male members, and how they treated women of this community, and how they justified the making of sex slave as holy. We'll get to know a lot about Iraq, Middle East, ISIS organization, its roots, and definitely her story is a must read. So yes, this is my first recommendation. Now my second recommendation in the same category is Rumors of Spring by Farah Bashir. Now this book talks about the life or the childhood of a Kashmiri civilian after 1990s. So in 1990, what happened in Kashmir was a massacre and also the Kashmiri Pandit exodus. So how is the life after that? The whole Kashmir is in chaos, and how is it to live like a civilian between military and militants? So the plot of this story is Farah Bashir's grandmother Bobe has just died and everyone is preparing for her funeral. Now in that funeral everyone is coming, so Farah Bashir is telling us the past or telling us the events of those people that are coming in her house, her relatives, and how their lives as a civilian has been affected in this chaotic conflict zone, Kashmir. Like you can't even play music after 5 p.m. You can't go outside after 5 p.m. There is always a curfew, there is always a crackdown, there is always a militant who is threatening you to give them money or to give them ride anywhere. How is their life different from our lives, and how is it to live like a Kashmiri civilian in our country? So this is another memoir that I want to recommend. So moving on to the second category, I have 2 recommendations for you guys, and these are these both books. Now I have purchased these both books recently in my latest book haul. So I haven't read either of them, but I purchased books after a lot of research. So I can assure you that these are the books that I am going to enjoy, and I can definitely recommend you even without reading it in its entirety. So the first book is Valmiki's Women by Anand Neelkantan. Now this book talks about the women of Ramayana who are less talked about or least talked about or are forgotten. So I'll tell you the women who are being talked about: Bhumija, Shanta, Mantra, Tatka and Minakshi. So these are the 5 women that have been talked about in this book, their stories. So this is my short story recommendation. The other recommendation is The Women Who Forgot to Invent Facebook and Other Stories by Nisha Suzanne. Now this is a very fun short story collection which have varieties of stories from dark humor, from love, from erotic to sympathy and kind-hearted stories. So there is a lot of variety that you can find in this teeny tiny cute looking Pinteresty type of book by Nisha Suzanne, and it's her debut novel I guess, and she has done a wonderful job. I have read this thoda, so I can tell you that. The book is No Nation for Women by Priyanka Dubey. Now, Priyanka Dubey is a freelance journalist and she has made a very extensive and detailed reportage about what happens to the rape survivors. What happens after their rape story hit the headlines? Do they ever get justice? So it will tell you about the rape stories, the rape survivor stories, what happens to them after rape, and sometimes it will also give you details of the events that took place before the rape. So it will tell you about that rape is not all about lust, it's about power, it's about to show dominance, it's about revenge. So it's an eye-opener book for anyone and everyone who thinks that it's women's fault that she was raped. So this is my recommendation in this category. The last book that I want to recommend is a fictional and also a very fun read, but also a satire, because I love satire. So this book is Besharam by Priya Alika Elias. So this is a very fun read that I came across 4 years back and I loved it. It was a bit too much for me, but most of the time it was very relatable and I had a good laugh. I read it while traveling. So it talks on topics like sex, ugliness, love, hurt, culture, failure, judgment, and independence. So these are the different topics that this book covers in a very light and humorous way, and also it is thought-provoking at the same time. So this is my last recommendation. These are all the recommendations for Women's Day, and I have recommended you books that are written by women or are on women but are still underrated, or people do not know about them because they have not been considered as the bestseller or been talked about or are hyped. But these are the books that are definitely worth a try. And what are you reading this Women's Day? Do let me know. I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned. Bye bye.